They buried her beneath the oldest tree in the valley. But the ground never stayed silent. The villagers said the red sap was just the tree weeping with age. But when her name began to form on the bark, they stopped saying anything at all. Every night since, the forest hums with her voice. Soft, broken, calling someone back. And when her brother returned to find her grave, he realized the tree wasn't bleeding anymore. It was breathing. They said the ground was cursed long before she was laid there. But in the village of Grey Hollow, people don't use words like curse, they whisper them. Her name was Elara Finch, a quiet seamstress who vanished one spring night. For weeks, the forest beyond her cottage echoed with the sound of a woman crying, though no one dared to search after dusk. When they finally found her body, white as birch, her lips stained red, they buried her beneath the oldest oak in the valley. No priest. No hymns. Just the wind humming through its hollow branches. A day later, the first drop of crimson seeped from the bark. At first, the villagers thought it was sap. Then, someone said it smelled of iron. They scraped at it, but more appeared the next dawn, thicker, darker, running like veins down the trunk. The children were told never to go near it. The adults pretended it wasn't there. But Jonas, Elara's brother, couldn't stay away. He came back from the city when he heard of her death. The villagers avoided his eyes, and no one would tell him where she was buried. But the forest did. At night, it called him, softly at first, like a whisper pressed through leaves. When he found the oak, he saw her name, Elara, etched into the bleeding bark. No one could have carved it. The letters looked raised, swollen, as if the tree itself had spoken them into being. Jonas dropped to his knees, whispering her name back, shaking as he touched the slick, red sap. It was warm, warmer than blood should be. Behind him, the wind changed. It began to hum, slow and low, the same sound that haunted the forest for weeks after she vanished. And as he rose, he realized the tree wasn't crying anymore. It was breathing. Jonas couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her pale face, eyes open, lips parting as if she wanted to speak. He told himself grief was twisting his senses, that the humming was just the wind. But the sound followed him home, curling under his window like a secret. At midnight, he heard it again. A whisper, close this time. Jonas. He froze. The voice was hers. He stepped outside, barefoot on the cold earth, the moon washing the fields in silver. The forest loomed ahead, darker than shadow. He shouldn't have gone back, but grief does strange things to logic. As he entered the trees, the whisper grew louder. The path glistened faintly, slick with something that caught the moonlight. He knelt, touched it, sticky. The same red sap. It trailed ahead, leading deeper. And then he heard it, soft tapping beneath the soil, like fingers against wood. The ground before him pulsed. Once. Twice. He whispered, trembling, Elara. The soil shifted. A crack split the earth, and the roots writhed like veins. A voice rose, not a whisper now, but a choked sob. You shouldn't have buried me here. Jonas stumbled back, heart racing. The voice didn't come from above, but below. The bleeding tree behind him shuddered, and something moved beneath its roots. A shape pressed up from the dirt, a pale outline of a face. Elara's. Her eyes opened, and she smiled. The next morning, the village was quiet. Too quiet. Jonas walked through the cobbled streets, still shaking, his shoes muddy with soil that didn't belong above ground. He tried to tell someone, anyone, what he'd seen beneath the oak. But no one remembered her. Elara Finch? He asked the baker. Blank stare. The old woman who once bought Elara's dresses said, Finch? Never heard of her. It was impossible. Her cottage still stood at the edge of the field, needle and thread scattered across the table, a cup half filled with cold tea. But her name, her face, her life, gone. Only Jonas remembered. When he returned to the forest that night, he found new carvings on the oak. The bark pulsed faintly under the moonlight, like something breathing from within. Her name wasn't alone anymore. Now, there were others. 6 names. Each one belonging to a villager who had stood at her funeral. Jonas backed away, trembling. His breath came out in fog, though the air was warm. Then he heard footsteps. Slow. Dragging. A figure stepped out from the shadows. A child, no older than 10, holding a wilted flower. His eyes were blank. His voice, soft. She says she's lonely. Jonas's heart pounded. Who? The boy pointed toward the tree. Ilara. She said you'll help her remember. The branches rustled. The red sap began to flow again, faster this time, spilling like tears. When Jonas turned, the boy was gone. Only the flower remained, soaked in blood. That night, the entire village woke to a sound no one could explain. 100 whispers calling their names from the woods. By dawn, the forest had changed. The air hung thick with a metallic scent, and the ground felt alive under Jonas's boots. He followed the path of bleeding roots that stretched outward from the oak, threading through the fields and curling beneath doors, beneath beds, beneath the earth where no roots should reach. Everywhere he stepped, whispers rose from the soil. Fragments of voices, pleading, crying, remembering. Jonas dug into the dirt beside the tree, desperate. He clawed through tangled roots until his nails split, until he found the edge of something cold and wooden. A coffin. He pried it open. It was empty. A shadow fell across him. The air grew still. From the hollow of the oak, something began to emerge. A shape twisting through the bark, pale and thin, like a person made of ash and memory. Ilara. But her face was wrong. Too smooth, too stretched, her eyes the color of rotted leaves. You came back, she whispered, her voice echoing through every branch. You remembered me. Jonas wept. I tried to save you. Her smile widened, unnatural. Then save them too. Roots shot from the ground, wrapping around his ankles. He screamed as they dragged him toward the base of the tree. The bark split open like flesh, revealing a hollow chamber beneath the trunk, lined with faces. Every villager who had forgotten her. Their eyes were still open. As he struggled, she leaned close. The tree doesn't forget, Jonas. It only waits. No one saw Jonas again. Days later, travelers passed through Grey Hollow. They found the village empty, doors swinging open, food still warm on tables. Only the wind moved. When they reached the forest, they found the oak. Its roots pulsed like veins beneath the soil, and its bark shimmered with streaks of dark red. Dozens of names etched into it, each letter glistening wet. At the bottom, freshly formed, was one more. Jonas Finch. They said when night fell, the tree began to hum, low, mournful, almost human. Some claimed if you listened long enough, you could hear it whispering, calling. One of the travelers, a young woman, lingered too long. She placed her hand on the bark, tracing the letters of Jonas's name. The sap was warm. She stepped back, frowning. The tree trembled. The humming deepened, turning into something like a heartbeat. From deep inside the wood, a voice sighed, soft, feminine. Thank you for remembering me. By morning, the travelers were gone. Only the tree remained. And beneath the roots, the soil shifted once more, making room for another name to bloom.